Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Flow and Thrive podcast. Today I'm really excited because I have a special guest with me here today. Her name is Diana, and she is an interior designer here in Toronto, Canada. She focuses on how our interior shapes us, how it affects us, our mood, and our psychology around living. When I met Diana, she said one thing to me that I was like, oh my God, you have to come on the podcast. She mentioned that she turns your home into a 3D vision board. Based on the work that I do with my clients, I know how important that can be, and I know how much of an effect your home can have on your identity and your self concept. So, thank you for joining me today, Diana. I would love if you
Thank you.
shared a little bit about yourself with our listeners.
Of course, Renee, thank you so much again for inviting me. I was very mesmerized by our conversation when I met you a couple of weeks ago, and I love everything you say. I love everything you do. And it was quite interesting how we clicked and connect because what we do is we work on the same subject, but I feel like you work more with the actual mind. And I, being a designer, work more with the environment, right? And the environment is as powerful as the mind because we do spend quite a lot of time in our houses. We share a lot of memories with our family in our homes. This is where we rest, restore, work, entertain. And our home can literally shape how we are seeing ourselves in the future. So, with the power of light and color and texture and form, we can program our house to a way that will support where we're going, who we would like to become. And it's just, again, using it with intention, using it strategically, and making a plan on how we can, use interior design and psychology together as partnership to create the house that will truly support us.
It's incredible. I think the work you do is so beautiful and so powerful, right? Because when we think of designing our home, a lot of people think of, okay, I just want it to look good. I want it to be
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing. But this whole concept of what message is my home sending to me on a daily basis? What is it saying about me is huge because when I heard you speak, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a hack to shifting your mindset because we spend so much time in our homes. And like you said, we're our most vulnerable and our most relaxed in our home. And that's
Yes.
when our subconscious can really take in what's around us,
Oh, yes.
shift our identity. For anyone who's new to identity work, the whole concept here is that when you show up in the same identity every single day, you're going to create the same reality over and over and over. If you want to change your reality, if you want to shift your reality, if you want to blow up your business, if you want to find the love of your life, you need to shift your identity to match that new reality because your identity is really your beliefs, your thoughts, your standards, your behaviors. When you shift those and you show up differently in the world around you changes. And that's when you call in a new reality. That's when you can realize and achieve your goals. So thank you for doing this work, Diana. I think it's
Of
incredible
course.
and beautiful. So I wanted to ask you a few questions for our listeners. How would you describe the relationship between our physical space and our sense of identity?
I think the connection between our interior and our exterior is so tight. It's almost like our home is a mirror of what's happening inside us, right? So this could show in lots of different ways. For example, clutter would be one of them. So if somebody's collecting all this clutter and doesn't want to let go, how can they ever think about, inviting the new version of themselves without letting go of the old, right? So shedding away all that old layer that no longer serves you. Whenever I walk into any house just before the transformation, I can tell what this person is going through because there's not much to really do or say. The house speaks for itself, right? Is the house neat? Are there any little cues of self care like fresh flowers or a neatly set up little vanity set or tray where you do your morning routines, like things like that? Just the overall cleanliness of the house, the scent, the flow, the lighting, like all these things truly reflects what's happening inside. It all starts from trying to find that perfect connection and marriage between the two.
I love that. Now I'm thinking about my house. I'm like, I wonder what it says about me. If you were to walk into my home, what are you going to know? Because what are some other common things that people unconsciously design their homes based on beliefs and patterns that they don't even realize they're doing?
The one that I've seen most common is a lot of people design the homes not for themselves. And
Mm,
it's a bit sad. And that's somewhat that whenever I walk into a picture, I hold my grounds on that because a lot of times when we decorate, renovate, build custom homes, it's more about, well, what will my friends say about my house? What will
oh,
my family members say about my house? And funny enough, even when the budgets get distributed around doing this project, they invest heavily in the areas that are most seen, like your formal living room, dining room, your main kitchen, your main family room. And then the secondary rooms, like your bedroom, your bathroom, don't really get much love because, well, my guests are not going to go up there. That shows, again, a little bit of a wrong way of kind of prioritizing your needs because your home is you. It's not an invitation for all the other people to come in and take your space, right? Yes, you can invite them to share a special dinner or, an event, but it is you. It's almost like it's your own shell, your own cocoon.
yeah.
So by you trying to divide up this house into these areas where, okay, this is worthy and this is not worthy, it shows that we need to work on the internal a little bit, right? The second thing I would say, as I mentioned, is clutter, right? So, clutter, once you see that there's so much clutter, it's again the person, there's just so much fog inside their heads. They need to really think about letting go, clearing, and just not being afraid for the future, for the new future to come.
Mhm.
And the third thing I would say is nowadays you see on Pinterest and Instagram this whole trend about neutral colors and lack of color, which is fantastic, yes, but it's almost like it's a little bit too much. And it almost says that, well, I don't want to be seen. I'm not that important. I just want to stay calm. I want to stay safe and I want to just live small. That's my opinion.
Oh my
Now,
God, I've got the chills.
Now, of course, I believe that for restorative spaces where we really need to turn down the overstimulation with, our busy lifestyles, for example, like bedrooms and bathrooms, yes, neutral colors are phenomenal.
Mhm.
But is there any reflection of your personality in your areas where you hang out the most, like your family? Is there any family pictures or maybe some objects from your travels, like something more personal?
Yeah.
Because again, going back to people designing for someone else is every decor piece, everything is just so perfectly orchestrated that it
Yes.
feels almost fake. Like it's almost like, well, you can put any person in this house and it will look like, well, you can live there and then you can also live there. There's nothing personal about that, right?
I'm kinda glad the camera's not on because my jaw was on the floor when you were saying the first one, because when you were talking about how people allocate so much budget to the places where the guests will come and see the home, and I was thinking about how often, even when I was looking for homes and the agent would show me, it'd all be about like, "Oh, this is a great space for entertaining, and this is a great space for entertaining," and we want to entertain, of course, we want people in our homes, but you're right. And it took me to this place of, like, when I was younger, and it was, like, this whole concept of what are people gonna think? Or that concept, especially as a woman, of, like, people pleasing and looking after others' needs before looking after our own. So it's almost like we wanna make sure our guests are comfortable and happy in our home, even though we're the
Absolutely.
ones who are spending more time there, and we're still giving less budget and allocation to the places that we're spending all our time and really being the ones who live in the house. So, wow, that one blew me away. And it's interesting too what you said about the pictures, because one of the things we first talked about when we met was a study that I had come across where it said that the people who post more pictures of their family vacations tend to travel more because they're constantly looking at that and it becomes their identity. Oh, I'm someone who travels. And so they're more apt to book trips and go on more vacations. So I thought that was
Yes.
cool. And so have you come across in your work a client that's really gone through an identity transformation through this process? And what shifted for them?
Yes, absolutely. I have a few success stories, let's just
Mm.
say that. But
Yeah.
one of them that was quite memorable was this client was my second time client. The first time I met them, they had a daughter. She was still quite young, so she was in kind of a mom zone. And then when they moved to a new house, it
Yeah.
was just a very bland white builder special home.
Mm.
And she lived there for a bit. And then she did call me up and said, my daughter is now, she's older, she's more independent, she's got her friends and she's got her dance, and she doesn't really need my attention 24/7. So I'm thinking of starting my own business, starting perhaps event planning. And she said, but I'm so scared. I don't know how to even start. I feel like I'm not good enough. I've been so out of touch with the world by being a mom, and I don't know really what to do. And her house was quite plain looking, right? So I told her, with the power of design, we can literally build you a confident house, where you walk in and
Mm.
it will just give you that sense of confidence and self worth by using, again, those cues and the colors and the contrast we used. We designed her spaces where she felt very powerful.
Mm.
So she started her business. She started hosting some workshops in her own house because, again, that's where she felt the most power. It was her area of power, her
Yeah.
space of power.
Yeah.
She said, I feel so amazing being here. I feel like everywhere I look, I just feel confident and strong. She said, yeah, I don't even really need to go anywhere else just by being me and having my house support me. It's almost like it was a permission slip for her to begin something, a new chapter in her life.
Right? Because it's reinforcing that new identity every time she looks
Yes.
around. And I love this concept to the point where it's such a reflection of her new identity, her new business, that she can actually host things
Yes.
in her home, like business stuff. Like, this is so interesting because a lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs. And this is so interesting because it's moved from entertaining and hosting to like, this is a reflection of me. And as entrepreneurs, our business is a reflection of us. And so when your home is also a reflection of you, it's naturally going to reflect your business in that way so powerfully. And for the
Yeah.
people listening, could you tell them like one small change someone could make in their home today just to invite more alignment or expansion for themselves?
For sure. I think before introducing anything new, again, as I mentioned before, you need to let go of something. So I would first go through this kind of a detoxing, cleansing exercise and walk through your space and ask, is this me? Does
Mm.
this still feel like me? And if the answer is maybe or no, it's a no. The second thing is that something so fast and fully transformative is I would talk about art. Art is very powerful. You can
Mm.
take the same room and just by switching the art around can really make you feel incredible. So there's different arts for different intentions, let's just say.
Yeah.
I like what you said about the vision boards. Prior to that is, being ballsy enough to put a vision board right there, somewhere that everyone can see, because then again, you're reinforcing that. I have my own vision board. I call it like a family vision board where a whole family can participate and you can pin your pictures there of your future travels or maybe some upgrades in your house. Maybe somebody wants to do a pool or tech gadgets or things like that. But yes, those would be your starters is to let go, declutter, then bring some art in and then put some vision boards, family gallery wall. Those are incredible too, because feeling grateful in your house makes everything open up, any opportunity really. So instead of buying some art from HomeSense that doesn't really do anything or have any meaning, perhaps it's just beautiful pictures in black and white, nicely curated on a nice big wall leading to a staircase, for example. That would be something you could do. But there's lots of cues that we can incorporate that are some are big, some are small, some are easy. The other thing I would say is so crucial is bedding, the way we sleep. Our bed is our throne. I always ask everybody, like, how is your bed? Like, first of all, did you even make your beds, right?
Mhm.
How is your bed? Do you look forward to going to your beds? Like, are the sheets all, comforting and hugging and soft? Are they color matching? Like, is the fabric the best fabric quality you can afford? Like, bedding is so important, especially for women. That's where we restore. And then just what I previously said about the neutral versus colorful areas is trying to be very intentional with how you place your things around the house. A lot of moms I notice from experience, because obviously we all love our children, but they go a little bit overboard with all the baby stuff in their bedrooms, right? So it could be baby pictures and crafts and little knickknacks they made at school, and they're all around the bedroom. So what happens is when the woman walks into her bedroom, she's still in the mother mode. She's not a woman. She's in her mom mode. And it's very hard to really be in touch and in tune with yourself when you're wearing a mom hat
Yeah.
24/7, right?
Yep.
So I always say, if you want to do something, get rid of everything that is not you as a woman in your bedroom. That's it. Work, kids,
Yep.
any other responsibilities, to-do lists, laptops, anything needs to be completely out of your bedroom, because that should be your sanctuary where you relax, stay tuned to your own needs. And that's where you can actually hear your intuition and know, okay, well, what do I want for me? That's, I think, definitely something we should all do.
Yes, I love the thing that you brought up about the sheets because that's one of the things we talked about too. Because I invested in some incredible sheets and it shifted my identity and made me feel like,
You-
actually,
You're a
this is,
queen.
yeah, exactly. And every night I go to bed, I feel like a queen because I'm climbing into this like soft,
Oh,
cozy,
yes.
right? Makes a big difference. And the other thing that came up when you were talking, I was thinking about art. I'm an artist myself, I'm a dancer. And so art to me means a lot. But you also
Oh, yes.
mentioned color. So is there like a relationship between certain intentions and different colors?
Absolutely, yes. So, depending on what a person would like to connect with the power of art, color has its own vibe or its own psychology. So, just a quick little tip on anything to do with romance. So, if a woman is looking for a new romantic relationship, more connections, more love, the color palette that would be so perfect and ideal would be anything that is actually delicious. So, anything you can think of that has the colors of caramel, chocolate, vanilla, raspberries, strawberries, cream. So when you start thinking of these salivating colors, those are perfect colors to use throughout your house, whether it's through your decor pieces like your cushions or through actual art. Because again, subconsciously, when we look at those colors and they resemble, delicious desserts and all the beautiful treats, you feel warm and fuzzy inside. And that's the vibe you're kind of setting yourself in to go out and attract more. When it comes to, for instance, finances and,
Mhm.
and wealth, the vibe is a little bit different. There's a bit of a contrast and a lot more metal that you can mix together. So metal would be a brass, so it's more of like a brushed gold look. And
Okay.
then with the colors, you can play around with emerald greens, like a really deep gem colors, and then try to kind of mix them up with more of a neutral colors. Those would be really, really good. They're kind of clean, but also deep at the same time. So it's a really interesting vibe. For health, it would be anything with more of a cleansing colors like off whites, sage green, muted blues. But sometimes when you go too light, it feels
Yeah.
a little bit sterile. So
Yeah.
I like to incorporate more grounding colors, connecting with those light colors. And the groundings would be more of, again, rich browns and taupes and terracotta, just to kind of ground everything down a little bit so it feels more substantial.
So you're grounding into your body. Oh my God, I love this. I was taking notes. I was so sure. I was like, on the love thing, she's going to say pink, isn't she? I was really shocked to hear the chocolate caramels, but that makes so much sense.
The interesting thing about this is that you want your man to feel confident in that or comfortable in that
Right.
environment too. If
Yeah.
you bring a man in a pink environment, then he'll feel like I don't belong here. It's just too girly for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. I was thinking of my clients who are looking for love. They're
Yes,
like, I'm
absolutely.
manifesting love. And so that is
Yes.
so cool.
But if you believe, let me pretend or let me envision how we're sharing this delicious, cheesecake with strawberries on top. That color palette will work for both because you're in it together.
Yes. Yes, right. It's not just your space anymore. You're making
Yeah,
space for someone, and that's the identity work, right? There's
absolutely.
the identity of the woman who's going out and looking for love versus the identity of the woman who already has it. And ladies who are listening, trying to manifest love, you want to be in the second identity, the woman who already has it, because that's how you
Absolutely.
manifest it into your life, right?
Yep.
This is so good. Can you share a little bit about just if somebody is interested in working with you, how does it work? Do you help them set intentions? What is the process you take people through?
I love process. I love organization and systems. Like that's so my thing. Because when we work around design that is so creative, plus psychology, there's so much unknown.
Hmm.
It's so easy to kind of get carried away with certain directions and not really have a clear path, right?
Yeah.
So systems for me is huge. To go back to the question about how they can find me, you can just go on my website, Diana Rose Design. I also have a YouTube channel where I post every week exactly on this topic that we're discussing today.
Hmm.
And essentially, the work goes where we first start with the questionnaire. So the questionnaire is pretty deep. It asks all kinds of things, not just about aesthetics, but about your lifestyle. I ask you to describe your ideal Sunday, your ideal Monday. If you have your friends over, how would you spend your time in your home? You need to really talk about how you would like to live in your house, not currently, but in the ideal scenario. And then after that, we go into the visuals. So I have my 12 archetypes that I try to see where you fit. So it's a quiz. A lot of times women fall into the combination of two or even three,
Hmm.
but the quiz helps to really kind of see, okay, well, what are my superpowers? What do I need and what can I achieve? And funny enough is whenever we think about these archetypes from the psychology point of view, people think, well, I'm just this one type for life. When it comes to design, it's a little bit different because it's all about the seasons of life, right? So
Yes.
if you're a new mom, you're in a different season than when your kid is already a teenager, moved out of the house,
Hmm.
and you're starting a new life and perhaps a new romance, but you're
Hmm.
still the same woman. So it's about identifying your current season
Yeah.
and perhaps the next season that's coming up and designing the house within that season. And then we go into the budgets, we go into the layouts of your current house and trying to, again, identify what would be your power anchors in your house that will support what you're trying to get. And then we move on to the shopping and the styling and the decorating. So it's really fun.
I love it. I'm like, I need this. I need this. I've just moved into a new place, and it's interesting what you said about the seasons because as my kids got older, I realized they're not spending as much time in the house. So I need one that's more conveniently located for me and something that's more fun that reflects. They're all three teenagers now. So I'm like,
Hmm.
something that, before we needed a big home where they could spend a lot of time playing and being at home. But now we've moved into actually a condo. So it feels to me like we're moving into a different identity, all of us, like the whole family
Hmm.
together. And we just needed a new place that suited that identity. And now they've got crazy amenities here that teenagers are loving, but it was embracing that, right? And allowing it in. The first step is making that move.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this wealth of wisdom. I have to say, like, it's not an aspect of our life that I think we think about often when we think about identity work. We kind of do the mindset work, we go to the gym, we make the vision boards, we do the journaling. But this concept of really bringing in these cues on a day to day basis, I think it's amazing. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was a pleasure.